Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back, and it is time for another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Today we are going to be having something a little bit special. It is going to be a best of 7, the grand finals of IEM Katowice. Pardon me, I don't know if I pronounced that right. I don't know if I ever will. But yeah, we have got two of the best StarCraft 2 players taking each other on. It's going to be Reynor in the bottom left, the young Italian, although he's like not that much younger than me, but he's a lot better at StarCraft. And in the top right, it is Zest. So we have got a top Korean Protoss taking on the Italian Zerg player in what's going to be an awesome best of 7. I haven't had a chance to watch this, and that's why I thought, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cast it, because if I'm going to be watching it, I might as well cast it. And so that's what I thought would be a great way to spend an afternoon. And yeah, it's good to be casting some StarCraft again. If you guys do enjoy this kind of video, leave a like. Let me know that you want to see more best of 7s, more IEM kind of videos, and I'll do my best to oblige. For now, we see Zest going for a very early probe scout, just to make sure he can block that natural hatchery. So the Zerg has to take the third. Just a nuisance for the Zerg player. Maybe unsettles him a little bit, but nothing too major. Just routine at this point. And we're on Oxide for game number 1. Oxide, fairly straightforward map for the most part. I think that this one's probably considered pretty decent for the Zergs compared to the Protoss, as it does have some wide open attack paths potentially, run-bys, things like that. It's not super easy to get up a 4th base, as it can be kind of exposed. And then again, everything is doable. The StarCraft 2 meta is pretty balanced at this point. And so yeah, let's take a look here. We've got an Adept on the way for Zest, Stargate. Very, very normal build here. This is a build that's been around for years at this point, just going for the Adept, delaying the Warp Gate so slightly, just so you can get up that Stargate as quickly as possible. And that's going to be one of the questions when it comes to seeing Reynor taking on Zest. I mean, as a Protoss player, how often are you going to build Stargate units, that kind of thing? And then we do see the Adept going to be shading on out. The Adept actually stays on home though, wanting to make sure Reynor doesn't sneak a few scouting lings out on the map, because Zest maybe anticipating Reynor to play that way, I think is a very, very reasonable thing to do, as Reynor is one of those guys with having Zerglings out on the map all the time. And if we do take a look at what Zest's doing this game, he's going for a Void Ray. Void Ray gonna be able to kill off this Overlord right away, gonna be able to put Reynor on edge a little bit, I'll say, because the entire tournament of IEM, there's been a lot of talk about how many Void Rays are Protoss players gonna bring out. I know Reynor said he practiced against this kind of Sky Toss style, but then we didn't see really as much of it as we thought. So it's kind of odd. And now the Zerg player might be like, is he going to just throw up a ton of gateways and a robo? Or is he actually going to commit to this Stargate style? Looking at Zest throwing up a Twilight Council, it is a bit indicative that he might just be transitioning out of this and isn't going to be leaning super hard onto the Stargate play. Who knows, maybe he'll go for Glaive Adept, something like that. Really, it could be anything. And Protoss players are so good at jumping around on that tech choice, on that tech tree, just to really keep things fresh. We see Zest with the one Void Ray back at home. Another Void Ray is out. Reynor, of course, doesn't have any Overlords sitting out on the map, just lost the one. At the same time, though, I mean, we take a look at what Reynor's got. I mean, he's got some Lings, he's getting +1 melee on the way, but he really is in the dark this game. And he's just going to have to be vigilant with his scouting. He tries to get a Ling up, but Zest is doing a good job walling it off. Zest has shown 2 Void Rays. But as far as this is concerned, Reynor's got no idea what's coming his way, and it's actually going to be a big charge attack from Zest. I should have noted earlier that Zest didn't take his natural gases. Instead, he's just going to be going for minerals, 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 which translates into zealots, zealots, zealots. And this is going to be a big 9 gateway zealot attack. The last time I saw a player do something like this, it was, I think, a Shreya ages ago on, it might have been, I can't quite remember what map it was. But it is a similar strategy to this that I have seen done before, and I really love this choice by Zest. Reynor right now might be thinking of like, oh, it could be some adapts, could be, I don't know, just a transition into like sentries and immortals, that kind of thing. In reality, this is still going to be a very sharp timing. A 5.5 minute timing attack, Zest with a prism. He's got the Void Rig cleaning out the lings to try and sneak the prism out on the map. And then he's just going to be warping in just a boatload of zealots. There's the zealots. Reynor has identified this. The question is he going to be prepared to deal with it? Zest already warped in zealots, got 7 of them. He's even bringing the Void Rays to help out. Now, Reynor does have the +1 melee attack on the way to help out, but boy, oh boy, is Zest ever committed here. He's got charge already done. He's got zealots hitting the 3rd base, all the while Void Rays working away on the 4th. Going to get a cancel on that while this is going on. The zealots moving out, maybe going to come back in, going to start engaging those queens, maybe burn through their transfuse. Reynor now having to pay attention in multiple places as Zest warps in even more zealots. He's going to hit the natural. Reynor's actually got an absurd amount of queens, 2 groups of 5 defending both of these locations. Looks like the battle at the 3rd base isn't going too hot for Zest as those zealots get cleaned up. We do take a look here. We see Zest moving in with the Void Rays, targeting down the Spore Crawler, but the Voids aren't going to be too effective here. It's really just about the zealots he's warping in and whether Reynor can hold. He's got the +1 melee attack, making his lings be much more effective against the zealots, but boy oh boy, is this looking like a lot of Protoss at the Zerg's natural. The supply is really close, which doesn't bode well for the Zerg. In fact, the supply is eerily close, but there we have it. Another big zealot warping, and Zest is going to take game number 1 in this best of 7, pardon me. And wow, I really wasn't expecting this kind of play in game number 1 from Zest, but what a match. Just deciding to completely change it up, and it goes to show that Zest is a darn experienced Protoss player when it comes to changing up his builds. Like 9-gate zealots, it's like, yeah, it's no surprise Zest is capable of doing something like that, but it's actually a surprise that he chose to do it. Out of all the strategies he could have chose to open up with game number 1, I think it's a brilliant choice. Just off the back of the Void Rays too, making Reynor a little bit worried, and yeah, clearly he wasn't quite prepared for it. So we'll go ahead and load on into game number 1, or game number 2. Okay, so here we are into game number 2 between these two. No joke intended there. Yeah, I really like Zest's choice of build. Going into Lightshade, though, I'm not sure it's going to be as easy for him to try and catch Reynor off guard with something like that. I think it's going to be a bit harder to hide your tech. Keep the Zerg in the dark a little bit, as there's only so many places on Lightshade which you can really hide things. And yeah, we'll take a look what Reynor is going to do to change it up, or whether he'll just play a more conservative game, try and really get that scouting information. Zest moves out with the probe right away, forces Reynor to his 3rd base. It's really quite interesting how Protoss players do this basically 100% of the time, although it does make sense, as really it lets you just make sure that there's no early pool right away. So it's kind of like 2 birds with 1 stone. And yeah, now we wait until there's a development on Lightshade here. Zest, I mean, could always turtle up, but when you do think of Zest, you think of those big gateway attacks, those timings, him warping in just a boatload of zealots, things like that. And so, yeah, we'll see whether Reynor will be the one to maybe try and change it up. For all we know, there could be like a Nidus, even like a Ling Flood. Not too likely, though. However, with Reynor, you really can't count him out with anything, and that's actually something that's interesting. Like when we first thought of Reynor, we really did think of earlier in his career, we thought of like Lings all the time. Now I'd say it's harder to put a pin in him as to what really defines his play. Of course, he is still incredibly quick, so Lings are a lethal tool for him. But like, as far as a unit preference he has, I'm not so sure. He definitely does like getting up, say, lurkers and things like that later in the game, but not all the time. And now let's take a look. We see this drone gonna just be transferring over, time to mine, as that hatchery is gonna start slowly filling up with workers, and Zest once more is gonna be going for a Stargate play. I don't blame him. That's for sure on Lightshade. He's got that Stargate relatively far forward, so it's not like he's trying to hide this at all. So we'll see if he's just gonna go for a Void Ray, maybe an Oracle. We shall see. I get the feeling that it's probably going to be a Void Ray again. However, you never know. You never know. And he actually goes for a Stalker, so maybe it's going to be an Oracle. The moment of truth here. I'm saying Oracle now. Yeah, there's that Oracle. Metabolic boost. On the way for Reynor, still mining just out of that one gas. Normal Zerg things, the natural base is on the way. He's working away on these rocks that are outside of his third base. Always a good choice to get rid of those is the Zerg. This Protoss could always force field them. Makes it easier to get on top of their armies. And now let's see. Oracle's coming forward. This is going to allow the Overlord to be killed off by the Stalker. However, of course, it is also going to let Reynor know that it is indeed an Oracle. The Oracle didn't just head right across the map. And so spores are on the way for the Zerg. Although, interestingly enough, just the one spore. Or two spores. Cutting none, actually, as he's got one going up in every base. I was wondering if he was just going to try and use queens for a defense. But it does seem that investing in that spore is probably worth it. Third base at 4 minutes on the way for the Protoss. Zest rocking these two Oracles. We'll see if he's able to get anything done. However, the Queens of Reynor already in position. Zest gonna grab himself one drone, but almost loses an Oracle. Gonna come back on in with one of them. Gets the second drone, so there's a little bit of something. Overall, good positioning, though, I'd say, by Reynor. Able to shut down those Oracles pretty much as quickly as he can. Stopping an Oracle from getting any drone kills is not an easy task, and Zest with a bad rally on that Oracle is actually going to lose it to the Queens. So he was planning on getting up 3 Oracles. Instead, now he's knocked back down to 2. And yeah, this is a rather good start for Reynor. Queen's going to try and stop this Oracle throwing up a stasis trap. Good reaction by Reynor. Adepts, however, are now moving in towards the third base, getting themselves into a very tricky spot behind this third mineral line on Lightshade. I imagine they're just going to back on out. Zest also using the Oracle in the main base, getting a couple of kills, the stasis ward off. Really just trying to bring it to Reynor with a little bit of harassment. Kills 5 drones, stasis wards, denies a bit of mining time. Ultimately, nothing too major just yet. However, I do like Zest's approach, already hitting 3 bases just 5 minutes into this game, so yeah, I do like that. And now Zest going up to charge once more. Of course, it's not as crazy of a charge play as the last game, as he's got a Templar Archives on the way too. He's got those gases mining. He's got that third base getting up a shield battery on the way there. And now we see Reynor just getting up Zerg missile attack. He's got roaches out. Reynor has got a lair up, but he's yet to start roach speed. There we go, roach speed on the way, so potentially just going to be playing like a heavy roach ravager style this game, and that wouldn't be too surprising against someone like Zest, who is now building up Robo, gonna probably be making sentries and immortals, that kind of thing. Roach ravager, not a bad composition against that. And there's Zest just throwing up an absolute ton of gateways now. Gonna have that production online, and there we see it, warping in more charge lots, warping in some High Templar, getting up an Archon. Reynor now laying on that Roach Key. Zest is probably gonna want to chrono boost out Immortals as soon as he can, as the Zerg player going up to this high of a Roach count really requires Immortals to respond to. I mean, Archons and Zealots are okay against Roaches, but you definitely do need something more. Yeah, now let's see. an observer on the way for starters for Zest. He's moving out with his army, but this is going to be nothing more than the light poke. And as a matter of fact, he doesn't want to overextend what Reynor has, because he already has a rather significant roachling force. If Zest even just pokes out too far, he could be in trouble. Like, I actually don't like him moving out like this. Yeah, it's nice to try and put pressure on the Zerg, but Reynor's got such a force, I feel, that if he can get on top of this army with Zest not paying attention for half a second, Zest could lose a significant portion of his force. As, yeah, I really don't like him moving forward like this. Take a look at this roach count. I mean, Reynor's repositioning some into his main base, which I do like. Zest just cleaning up creep is going to back off now. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Reynor wants to take a fight soon, trade out this Roach Ravager composition. He's at 180 supply to 140 of Zest, which isn't great for the Protoss player. Reynor going for a small Ling counterattack, gonna find nothing. But still, it's mainly a Roach Ravager composition against an Archon Zealot one. Not a single Immortal in this composition for Zest. Really makes me question whether he can take a fight here. He's just keeping the pressure on by having his army positioned all over. I mean, some units to the south, some to the north. Is he just going to try and go for a multi-prong attack? I'm actually not liking this at all for Zest, though. I'd prefer to see him chrono boosting out Immortals, that kind of thing. There are Archon Zealot timings that you can make, but as far as just bashing your head into a wall of Roach Ravager that Reynor's got right now, I'm not sure it's the best decision from the Protoss. As we see Reynor just spamming up spine crawlers now, getting a hive on the way. He knows he's probably prepared to fight this composition. He's not moving out himself, not trying to pounce on any of these sections of army, but as I say that, we now see Reynor moving out. He's going to be trying to catch maybe some of these Archons and Zealots. He does decide to back onto creep. Zest's army is starting to go up in supply himself, and this really has been Zest in IEM, just making a boatload of Zealots. Not a single Immortal is kind of crazy, I think. But still, maybe he's just going to max out and just go in with a ton of Zealots and Archons. Crazier things have worked, but I still think this is a bit of an ambitious play by Zest. He's now going to hit that third base. Zealots and Archons are engaging up this ramp. Reynor fighting with two sections of his army. Looks like he's just crushing the Protoss force to the north. The rest of his army is coming down towards the south. We see Zest with Zealots, Archons, and Stalkers going to be trying to push in. All the while, the third base of Reynor really has been sacked, but these units are not participating in the main fight, and I feel that Reynor is going to whittle down Zest's army, and he is going to be pushing him out. So Zest, I mean, was able to kind of get Reynor out of position, but when the dust is settled, I think this is going to look pretty good for the Zerg player. He lost a third base, which hurts. If Zest can maybe snipe off this fourth base too, that would be pretty good for him, and it would absolutely force Reynor to be all in. I mean, Zest is targeting down individual roaches, but there's 23 roaches out with another 16 building. He's got a lot of work to do. And if we take a look at the supply, that attack did completely just fall on its face. Zest at 100 supply, Reynor at 185. This is not looking too hot for the Protoss players. Warping in Archons, but Archons themselves are not that good against Roach Ravager. They're okay, but they're not what you need. And that's why I was so shocked to see Zest invest in this kind of composition. He can micro all he wants. He's firing up an Immortal now, but it's kind of like that too little too late. I do enjoy the fact that Zest did try and just get another quick win against Reynor, but Archons and Zealots against a Zerg who's making Roach Ravager is not the answer. GG, Reynor is going to tie up the series. Okay, we're now tied up 1-1, which is always exciting. And now we'll take a look here and see who's gonna go ahead and take the lead in this series. I honestly have no idea, so let us see whether Zest will change it up this game. Yeah, I feel like Zealot Archon is just not that good, but then at the end of the day, Zest really does whatever he wants, and you can say like, oh, Zest, that'll never work, you're mad. And then he totally goes and makes something crazy work, and that's why it's too hard to judge him in a sense. Like, he's bound to make missteps now and then, but he gets it right pretty often. So yeah, I'm not sure what he should do to try and change it up this game. It is Dithora, so maybe if he is going to go for tried and true Sky Toss, this might be one of the maps to do it on. which I definitely wouldn't mind to see. That being said, Zest himself isn't that much of a late game Protoss player. He'll bust out Void Rays, then maybe back it up with a bunch of charge lots or something like that. But as far as making a beeline towards just carriers and Void Rays, that kind of thing, not the most likely from this guy. As per usual, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the Bell Gang if you haven't. If you do enjoy these commentaries. I'm not doing the daily uploads anymore necessarily, but I'm gonna try and keep a steady stream of content out on the channel. Gonna have our in-house tournaments coming up again soon, like the Freak of Worlds and the Trova events, which is cool. And yeah, who knows? We might even have someone like Zest playing in them. You never know. Now Zest just goes for his pylon in a forward position once again. I mean, it's something kind of trivial to note, but this does make me believe it's going to be a Stargate, and that he's not necessarily going to be trying to hide the tech. Although I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Void Ray again this game. Last game it was an Oracle. This game he's going for an Adept for starters. Cancels the Warp Gate. Starts up that Stargate. He'll resume Warp Gate again once he can. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Void Ray just to really shut down Reynor's map control, his scouting. We could always also potentially see a Phoenix, which would be a neat way to change it up. Reynor, though, just going to be making a queen or two, getting up his third base, normal stuff. I do wonder if we'll see an early pool or something out of Reynor this game. But oh, look at this. The Zerg player already going for Pneumatized Carapace, which is a really awesome upgrade when you're trying to make sure the Protoss isn't going to pull a sneaky one on you. So Reynor investing in this 50-50 upgrade. I want to say it's still 50-50 anyway. There's a chance it's 75-75, and I'm mistaken, but a very good upgrade for Zerg nonetheless. It basically guarantees you to see what your opponent is going to go for. Not that Reynor was necessarily caught off guard in the last game. He maybe didn't have an exact idea of what Zest was planning on doing, but he played it safe and he still defended it regardless. This game though, he wants to make sure he's taking that extra step, make sure that there isn't like an extra Stargate being thrown up at the back, that there isn't, I don't know, a Dark Shrine on the way. We did indeed see a Void Ray on the way for Zest. He's now going to be backing it up with an Oracle, so going for the best of both worlds. The Void Ray going to shut down the Overlord, the Void Ray going to prevent, say, I don't know, roach pokes by the Zerg. Reynor going to be moving in with an Overlord here. The Void Ray is actually going to find it. Yes, Zest did realize that. Reynor's going to try and get it out of there, but Void Rays are pretty darn quick these days. 3.85 movement speed against an Overlord with 2.63. Even the gassed up Overlords cannot escape a Void Ray. Reynor's got another Overlord in here, scouting out over the base of the Protoss. The Void Ray has turned around, going to be hunting it down. Although I imagine that Sloverlord, or it's a Zoomer Lord now, is going to be able to get out. Maybe the Void Ray will catch it, looks like. It might do. Which is a bit of a bummer for the Overlord. All the while Zest has got this Oracle moving out. Taking a bit of hull damage. Doesn't look like it's spent any energy or anything yet. And we are going to see Reynor just continue to throw up drones, get to a rather healthy count. And Zest does go for that extra Stargate play, which I'm excited to see. So we are going to be seeing that Sky Toss. Reynor, however, going to be sending out another Overlord, really wanting to confirm what's coming his way, as he hasn't seen that extra Stargate. He hasn't seen a Twilight or anything like that. So he's in the dark. Zest has actually gone for a Twilight and a Forge, interestingly enough, off the back of this double Stargate. So he might not even care and just be really trying to mess with Reynor. Didn't Prismatic Overcharge that Void Ray. Maybe he could have killed it quicker and denied that scout. I'm honestly not too sure about that, but we do see Zest still firing up a couple more Void Rays, and this is one of the strengths of the Sky Toss style. At first it was just all about the Sky Toss, it would seem, and that Protoss players would go for it basically regardless. They just wanted the Sky Toss. Now Protoss players in the meta are basically saying, you're really scared of Sky Toss, so I don't even necessarily have to commit to it. I can just go for, say, 4 Void Rays, maybe 6, and then charge behind it and start making Immortals and things like that after. And then just the threat of Sky Toss is enough to deal the damage. Whereas this game, Zest is committing to a few Void Rays, but he did get up that Forge. That that charge composition, and we might just see one of those charge lot Void Ray attacks from the Protoss player, which isn't necessarily just about playing into Sky Toss. It's using these units in a bit of a sneaky way. Oracle's coming in towards the back. 4 queens, though, will make sure that that Oracle's not going to get any damage done. Reynor's getting up an Infestation Pit, getting up a ton of drones behind this, and I'm actually getting kind of concerned for the Zerg player now, as if we do take a look, I mean, he's going up to an Infestation Pit, going up to a very healthy drone count. This could be leading into him not having enough to defend this timing attack, however. I mean, he's only got 10 lings, 9 queens out on the map. He does have a Roach Warren done, but he's not making any yet. And the concern is going to be that Zest, with his 8 extra gateways, or his 8 gateways in total, is going to allow him to go for a nasty timing attack with charge lots, with these Void Rays, and that Reynor won't be prepared for it. We see Reynor now investing in a hive, getting up a Hydra Den. Those are not going to help him defend a potential attack from Zest. We see Zest shutting down scouting, actually goes for a 4th base, interestingly enough, so he's really not committing to some big all-in, which maybe going for a big attack would have worked for Zest. He's just going to be playing it more passive. He elects to morph in a couple of Archons, getting up Psystorm. And so, yeah, Zest is actually going to be playing this into the late game, which I think is going to maybe swing things into the favor of Reynor. I really was expecting a big charge Void Ray attack from Zest. I'm not sure why he didn't go for that, although I'm sure he has good reason. Of course, his attack in the last game didn't work out. This game, though, maybe I would have liked to see it. Who knows, though? Maybe Reynor would have just held it with all of his queens. It's tough to say. Although now I am a little bit concerned here for Zest, because Reynor did get up that high drone count early. He is rushing up to this high tech. Zest himself is taking his time to get up to his 4th base. It's still a rather quick 4th base for the Protoss, but now he doesn't have any specific large lead, I'll say. And he's just going to be going up into a late game play against Reynor, who, of course, is going to be very well practiced against this style. So we see Reynor getting up Hydras, getting up a Lurker Den, getting his +2 attack on the way at a very, very nice timing. Zerg units are going to put out a lot of damage with that +2 attack. The Hydras in particular will really chew through the air units. And we do see Zest just going to the max as far as turtling is concerned this game. I mean, he's throwing up a ton of gateways, so he'll be able to warp in a boatload of charge lots. He's making an absurd amount of cannons. I guess worried about potential Nidus Worms in his base. That's always a valid concern. And look at this, Zest, yeah, just throwing up more cannons, more shield batteries. Really just saying, yeah, I'm going down for the long nap here. I'm just gonna basically sit back, turtle up, build up into a Sky Toss composition, and hope that the Zerg makes some major missteps against me. And there's a chance Reynor will. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy for Zest, though, to just sit back and hold on. I mean, Reynor is a master of attacking. He's just going to be able to charge in again and again and again. And suddenly Zest might have weaknesses which he was not prepared for. And oh, Zest with his 4 High Templar could be getting caught off guard here a little bit. I mean, his army is out on the map, but not in position to defend his 4th base at all. When we see Reynor coming in with his queens, looks like Zest might try and break this, but he really has to back off. I'm kind of shocked that Zest was out on the map and not defending at the top of his ramp. This has really left him a little bit vulnerable. And Zest, who is going into this Sky Toss composition, is now just getting out 1 carrier. So I mean, he kind of went Void Rays at the start, then backed off the Sky Toss. He's going into Sky Toss again, but it's going to take him a while to get up to this big carrier count, and Reynor is attacking now. Zest has been dropping some pretty decent Psystorms on the Zerg force, but cleaning this up is not going to be easy. Protoss player killing off one of his own gateways. He was very, very walled off, locking down this location, but in the end he just was not in the right place with his force to push away these lurkers. A battery overcharge is going to be used to hold this location for now. A couple more Immortals are on the way for the Protoss player. Actually 3 at a time, very significant production. 3 lurkers at a time, or 3 Immortals at a time. Beautiful Psystorms going down for Zest, raining on top of the Zerg's army. However, we do see it's starting to wear thin for the Protoss player. He's burned all of his Psystorm. He warps in 9 Zealots. Reynor behind this making 24 Hydras, bringing up Spore Crawlers. Going to be spreading creep forward so he can try and get those involved in the fight. And the Protoss force is really just starting to wear out. There's no batteries here to defend. And while Zest was trying to defend everywhere, it seemed, building cannons, gateways to lock down all of his locations, he just was not prepared at this one location. And so it looks like Reynor's attack is going to work here. Zest is backing off, but he did not build up into this composition successfully, and Reynor is going to be able to make the kill. And I think that is just honestly a tragedy for Zest. Yeah, I think he kind of middle of the roaded it a little bit too much this game. It's kind of tough to say, but we did see him maybe leading into a potential charge attack at the start of the game, which Reynor was honestly probably not prepared for if Zest was going for that. But then the Zest didn't go for it, so Reynor kind of got away with his greed. And then Zest, trying to take the game later, he invested in so much static defense, but in the end his 4th base was left rather undefended. His army was out of position. Like, he got some very good Psystorms and such off, but Zest invested in so many gateways, so many cannons over here that really would have been better suited somewhere else. Maybe he should have tried to get out the carriers a little bit sooner, so he would have had the more mobile defense. I'm not sure, but in the end, Reynor taking himself a nice 1 or 2-to-1 lead over Zest. Oh boy, I almost didn't expect to see this map, but then you gotta realize it's a best of 7. So in theory, all the maps will be played, and now we have got Reynor playing on Submarine against Zest. This could be a crazy one. Submarine is the wild card of the map pool in StarCraft 2. It's the map that's rarely played because some players just don't like it. It's so chaotic, it could be argued as imbalanced, but we're having a championship game on it as, yeah, Zest versus Reynor going down on Submarine. I mean, you gotta think that this is favored for the Zerg, and this is why we're seeing an early spawning pool out of Reynor, just saying it's Submarine when in Rome, you know. Gonna be trying to cheese Zest out a little bit, and this could be a potentially very quick match, as I honestly don't know how they're gonna play this out. Like, it's just so cramped on the map Submarine. Like, once you've got 4 bases and your opponent's got 4 bases, you can practically wave at each other and just be like, oh, hey, what you doing over there? It's like, well, you know, I'm just doing my thing. And so we rarely see it get to that situation, I feel. There's so many timing attacks, pushes, things like that. For all we know, Reynor could just fire up a Roach War and march some queens across the map and have at him. But let's see. Cybercore on the way for Zest. There's his Nexus. He's scouting out, waiting to see how many Lings are going to pop out for Reynor, when indeed it is 6. And so Zest has got a Zealot on the way. He's got energy for a Chrono Boost, so we'll see if he Chrono Boosts out that Zealot or if you don't need to. As someone who plays Protoss, but is by no means at Zest level, it's interesting to see what you can get away with. And so we are seeing Zest just save his Chrono Energy. There we go. Now he dumps it into that Zealot, and then so that he can get the Adept out as quickly as possible. He's not going to throw up a Gateway. I don't know if he just didn't have the resources for that, or he just underestimated how quickly units get across on Submarine. But now Reynor's got Lings in the main base of Zest. This early pool already starting to be a nuisance. Great probe micro by Zest, not losing any just yet. And once the Adept's out, that really will help clean all this up. And Reynor gonna be losing 2 of the Lings for naught. Just putting some early pressure on Zest, and now the Adept can cross the map and return the favor potentially for the Protoss player. We may see Zest wait for 2 Adepts, and now he's got a Twilight Council on the way. Reynor, so smart though, knows the timings of this game so well, is just going to move in with his Overlord and basically say, I went early Lings, so you probably are just going for Adepts, and so my Overlord can fly in here uncontested, just scout out what's going on, and he is going to see the Twilight Council that Zest has gone for. Now, Reynor is going to have to contend with these 2 Adepts that are crossing the map. He's got the 4 He's actually got 8 lings, which is more than enough to deal with these 2 adepts. And the queen's in proper positioning. And so, yeah, Zest's adept counterattack not going to get too much done. Of course, it's putting pressure on the Zerg, but he really can't commit too much. He tries to get a creep tumor, but is unable to get it. He maybe could have grabbed that if he'd gone for it earlier. For now, though, really just trying to keep the pressure on his opponent. These adepts for Zest looking like they might have shaded to the natural there, but he decided against it. Would have been absolute suicide for them to commit in there. And now the Stalker working away on this Overlord that belongs to Reynor. The Stalker's got to go a long way around to try and get this, but of course the Overlord turns around. It's going to be close. And this Overlord is a big deal. This could be like a tens of thousands of dollar Overlord. Reynor just keeping this alive. Gonna make things nice for him. Might be a little bit frustrating for Zest not being able to get that. That Zealot actually was blocking the Stalker coming in. I don't think it slowed it down enough to be significant. But still, nicely done by Reynor, keeping that Overlord alive. He's been playing a textbook game here. Early pool, defend the 2 adept counterattack, throw up the Roach Warren early on Submarine before the usual drone count that Zerg would throw one up at. Get up a Spore. All the while he's going to be going up against DTs, which will be coming out as Zest. How's Zest going to play this out? Is he just going to rely on the DTs to get some damage done? If he is, he's going to be in trouble, as Reynor's already investing in Spores. Or is it going to be more for Archon Prism harassment? So far, the Prism has been sighted by Reynor, so Zest is not going to get too much done with this. We see 4 DTs warping in. Zest doesn't even try and hide it. He's probably just going to morph these right into an Archon, right? No, he's going to run in with the DTs, but then quickly have to pull them out, as there is detection. The Roach is more than enough for Reynor to push this away, and this is where it's going to become a little bit concerning here for Zest. He's on this Dark Templar attack, so he's not going to have enough to deal with, not really going to have anything to deal with a large number of Roaches. And that's where it becomes scary, because on Submarine the counterattack can happen so quickly. Zest's got 2 adepts here to try and defend his 3rd base that's building from these lings, but they weren't really in position to deal with this. The Stalker's coming forward too, but that knows that it would be in trouble. Reynor does back off as he is busy dealing with this Warp Prism harassment. But yeah, I still am a little bit concerned for Zest in this game. Just a little bit down the line, he could be in trouble, as he's trying to harass with these Archons, not getting too much done though against Reynor. Burning some Queen Transfuse, trying to get a Roach or 2, but in the end he does get pushed away. And yeah, I honestly just see a lot of Roaches in Zest's future. And by committing to Prism harassment, not getting that much done, it's going to be really tough to deal with, I feel. We see Reynor spreading that creep highway across the map. Zest with his Observer is going to be able to clean this up. This is actually a rather large deal, pushing the creep back this far. Really nicely done by the Protoss player. Reynor scouting out Zest's base is just going to see pretty standard Protoss stuff. Immortals building, charge on the way, and just a big old Protoss army building up. But Reynor's just been laying on that Roach key. He's at 63 drones, which is a pretty healthy drone count to make a boatload of Roaches. And so we see Zest just chrono boosting out those Immortals. He needs as many as he can. Zest looks like he might be going on the offense once again, just going for one of these pushes to try and push back creep. But if he goes for an attack, I feel that this is a horrible decision, because honestly, Reynor's the one who was gearing up for an attack this game, and now Zest has basically just given away the defender's advantage and is trying to push into Reynor. I don't like this decision at all. He's going to try and make it work, but his Zealot buffer is basically gone, so these Immortals and Archons are on their own. There's a few more charge lots warping in, but yeah, I did not like this attack from Zest at all. Reynor up on supply is going to be cleaning this up, it looks like, as yeah, the Immortals buffer is gone. Zest can save what he can with the Prism. He's going to try and juggle these units as well as he can, and he is a masterclass Protoss at doing that. Gotta make sure that he doesn't lose that one Immortal, keeps it alive, defends it from that shot. Good juggling here by Zest, but yeah, Reynor was absolutely gearing up for an attack this game, when in reality, Zest just went for a very poor timed attack of his own. He's only on 46 probes behind this. It's not like he's lost any. No, he just committed to this big attack. Interestingly enough, Zest burns the battery overcharge right away. I love that decision, though. Realizing that if he puts it on cooldown now, it might be ready again by the time Reynor goes for an attack, but Zest is just going to move out on the map once more. I really don't like this decision by the Protoss player. I mean, I understand the appeal to try and attack and attack and attack, but if your first one failed, I'm really not sure what Zest can think is going to make his second one succeed. Yeah, he's going to come in. He is going to snipe off Reynor's 4th base, but he absolutely can't go up this ramp. He's down on army supply by about 40. Reynor's got the +1 attack as well. And Zest needs to transition or something in reality. It's just a hard spot from the way he opened up in this game. Yeah. Like, well, what do you do as Zest here? I mean, you've got really no choice. There's no way he can attack on in. He's warping in a couple DTs, presumably for another Archon or some harassment. I do like that choice to send these DTs and try and snipe off this base. That's a really cute play by Zest. Needs to be making something happen out on the map, as he's got some Zealots warping in to try and deal with this Roach counterattack. Zest is going to come in here, going to be able to clean up these Roaches. This is honestly a nice pickoff, I think. Should be able to clean this up pretty well. Zest even microing individual Zealots in the Prism as he can. Reynor, though, as this is going on, just seizes the opportunity to charge towards the natural. Lings are moving into the main base. Zest has to warp in Zealots to respond. Now, Zest's going to micro his units as well as he can. He's got a good number of sentries, so he can sort of dictate the fight with them. But still, Zest is rather far behind. He's got just the 1 battery at this 3rd base. Reynor's actually just going to back off, saying, yeah, I could potentially throw if I commit to this attack, so he's going to back off. Zest uses some force fields to catch a few of the Zerg's units, which is rather nice. However, at the same time, though, Reynor's already maxed out. He can replace these forces, no problem. He's got a Hive on the way. His +2 attack is nearly done, whereas Zest has no attack upgrades to his name. He hasn't been making Immortals for like the past few minutes. He's just been warping in Archons, and so his count remains at 3 Immortals, which is 3 Immortals is decent, but against 50 Roaches, you do need more than 3 Immortals. And Zest is just so far behind on army supply. He's down on upgrades. I really don't see this attack working, and it's looking like Reynor might be taking a 3-1 lead in this series. Yeah. Reynor going for a counterattack. He's got so many Roaches to play with, he may as well send some across. This wall's already been broken down, so there's really nothing to hinder these Roaches. Zest may just have to go for a recall. He's actually just looking for a big fight on the front, saying, right now is my moment, and it very well could be his moment, as he is shaving off a lot of the Zerg forces. He's tossing down force fields, but then busting them with Archons right away, as Zest says, okay, you're committing to a big counterattack. That's not supply in this fight, so now is my moment, and he is pushing forward pretty darn well. Zest warping in more and more Zealots, trying to crash forward on Reynor's base. The supply, though, is kind of a giveaway as far as how this is going to go. It's looking close in this fight right now, but even if Zest does win this, which it doesn't look like he will, Reynor's just got so many reinforcements. The counterattack did critical damage, and he's got himself a 3-1 lead against Zest. Reynor could just be looking to roll over Zest here by winning 4 maps in a row and just clean sweeping the tournament. I mean, Reynor played against Maru and won 3 maps in a row. Let alone beating Zest 4 maps in a row after that would just be mental, as it's not an easy feat. And so this game we're really gonna need to see Zest change it up. Like, I get being on submarine is a hard situation. Then the first map that he dropped, he was kind of a questionable decision. And so I wouldn't say that Zest is playing bad. I'd say he's just been in unfortunate situations with maybe like 1 mistake. For example, game number 3, when he's had that weak point in his defense when he was turtling up to the Stargate. I mean, in another reality, he gets some better Psy Storms off, or he holds the ramp better and forces Reynor to back off for a second. And then that turns into a 40-minute game in which Zest maybe eventually wins out. And then, who knows? Yeah, it's a completely different series so far. Because being down 3-1 against Reynor, against a Zerg, is not going to be an easy thing, I think, as Protoss. You've already played 4 games, you've already revealed 4 builds, you got to think, right, what can I do to win the next 3 games in a row? If anyone can do it, maybe it is Zest. Maybe he'll just go for some crazy, almost generic timing attack and it'll work because he'll do it better than any other Protoss Reynor's faced against. But, yeah. Not going to be easy. We see Reynor mining his gas now, going to be building up towards that speed for his lings, of course, and we're on Romanticide, so maybe this is another game which Zest would want to try playing that Stargate sort of style. It does have its advantages in the sense that it's rather easy to secure up 3 bases, and even getting up your 4th kind of just gives you 1 or 2 positions to defend. Like, you throw up some batteries here, and then you've got your 3rd base defended. It's not easy for the Zerg to crack you. At the same time, though, since it is a larger map, it basically just means that the Zerg can just bounce around all these locations, and you can't really lock them down easily. So we'll see if that's going to be Zest's approach here, or if he is going to really change it up or not. Now we do have a Stargate on the way for Zest, which does excite me. Honestly, I know a lot of players sort of hate on the late game turtling style. I honestly love to see it. I'm a fan of the late game matchups. I think StarCraft 2 really comes down to which race has got the better late game as far as which race is favored in a sense. And so a lot of that is about determining who's really more comfortable going into the late game every game. Right now, we have seen Zerg players play later game styles, bring down Protoss, but they do tend to rely on those counterattacks more often, and there is some complaints on Twitter and things like that. So Zerg maybe not as comfortable in the late game as Protoss is with their mass Void Race style, with their mass airplay style, and so yeah, Zest does have to keep that in mind and think, you know, maybe if I just play into the late game, you'll fall apart. I mean, Reynor showed very strong mid-game, very strong early game against Maru, but it was the late game which he fell apart a little bit. And so maybe that's what Zest needs to look at. We do see Zest going for an Oracle after a Void Ray once again. I do like this opening. As someone who plays Protoss every now and then, I think it is a very good opening for someone who's got a lot of control to be able to move that Void Ray around to shut down these pneumatized Carapace Overlords, which Zest should be able to do, in which he will be chasing us, and to micro that Oracle. So we'll see if this Oracle's able to get some damage. I mean, it's not too likely, but maybe a drone, you never know. As he comes in towards the natural, yeah, Reynor's actually not prepared for this. Does lose 1 drone. Not going to lose any more, though, as the Oracle does, or pardon me, he does lose 1 more, as that drone kind of moved out a little bit too far. And so Zest does get 2 drones, minimal hull damage to the Oracle, kind of a nice start. And then he's just straight up got another Stargate already on the way. So Zest has made up his mind. He probably wants to play a late game match against Reynor. It's not an easy commitment, because he might just be like, well, what if Reynor's better at me than in the late game? Because he really hasn't had a chance to test Reynor in the late game this series. He tried in game number 3, but Reynor just killed him with a timing attack. I personally hope that we get a game that goes later, and we'll really be able to see who's the better player in this late game. Now, Zest is going for a Twilight Council of Forge once again, so probably going to be starting up that charge in +1, like he did in game number 3, but since in that game he didn't go for a timing attack, I'm willing to bet this game he won't either, but we really can't rule out that possibility. Zest is mining lots of gas at his natural, so he can keep going up for that Void Ray production, and he throws up the gases at his 3rd. So yeah, probably not going to be a timing attack with mass charge lots. Alright, Robo now on the way for Zest. Might just be for observers, who knows? Reynor getting up that Roachworn again, +1 attack on the way. A much later Roachworn this game, notably. Just throwing up a Roachworn at 66 drones, so actually a rather late Roachworn compared to what Zerg usually goes for. Really shows the confidence Reynor bought himself with that pneumatized Carapace. some Zergs, even if they do scout what the Protoss is going for, they might go for like a Roach Warren. Reynor, though, has just been constantly building Queens, of course, as he knows they're good against Void Rays, so getting up to a high count there. Zest has a Templar Archives on the way. We'll see if this is going to be for Psystorm, or if he will be taking a different route and playing an Archon style, with 2 more gateways going up. It really is leaning towards heavy ground play. And I get the feeling that, yeah, this is just going to be a Archon Void Ray Charge Lot style, securing up this 4th base. Yeah, Cannon's battery's starting to go up for Zest, so he is going to be playing this late game style, but just having a very strong ground presence to get there. Now he fires up Psystorm. I imagine at some point we'll see a Fleet Beacon, but I really do find this interesting. Zest postures aggressively going into the Sky Toss attack. It's not like he's just trying to chrono out carriers and pray. No, he's building up a very strong ground force that could very well threaten Reynor if he felt so inclined, but in reality, he is just happy to go into this late game. And I think that this is cool posturing from Zest going for this sort of style. Reynor, this game, hasn't got up an Infestation Pit yet, or he does, pardon me, as he fires up a Hive. But yeah, Zest, I feel, does have a little bit of time this game to build up into that late game style. But maybe he is just going to go into the mass ground as he throws up yet another gateway. He says 9 isn't enough, I need 10. He's making Immortals, he's getting up Psystorm, but then he throws up a Fleet Beacon, so it's like tough to say. Is Zest going to fully commit to this turtle style? Or is he just going to keep posturing against Reynor? I mean, Zest has got Psystorm researched, he's got 3 High Templar sitting back at his base. Maybe he's just going to start spamming down more cannons and batteries, and as I say that, there we go. I mean, the Fleet Beacon's on the way. We might just be seeing double carriers getting chrono boosted out in a second. All the while, Zest out on the map with his army still pressuring against Reynor. The Zerg is going to be counterattacking now with these Lings, which are actually going to grab an Immortal. Looks like Zest might be able to save it. This 1 Adept, the Immortal battling so bravely, and then a ton of Charge Lots come in to save the day, and we're left with a red ring of Zerg guts. Zest, yeah, still just posturing against Reynor. Not really revealing his hand completely. I mean, the Zerg player, by all accounts, saw the fact that Zest had got another Immortal on the way out, a big Zealot Warpin, so he really was going hard on ground. At the same time, though, Reynor is saying, oh, hey, look, you got Stargates. You're making... Well, actually, did he see the Fleet Beacon? No, Reynor missed the Fleet Beacon with this. So he might still be thinking that this is full on ground. In reality, Zest is transitioning. And yeah, Reynor hasn't actually identified carrier production yet. He's completely misreading this situation, I think. He's firing up a ton of lurkers, getting up spine crawlers. Yeah, quite worried about a big ground attack from Zest, it would seem. In reality, Zest, while not going like triple carrier production, is making 2 carriers at a time. He's getting that +1 attack and is just going to be sitting back, getting up a 5th base. Reynor is not reading this correctly, I'd say. And that really is just due to unfortunate scouting. Like, I don't know how this Overseer missed the Fleet Beacon in 2 carriers building at those Stargates, but it did. And that's rather unfortunate, because now Reynor's seeing this army and has got to be thinking, okay, this could be coming for me at any second. We do see a Psystorm drop. We see Reynor pushing out on the map now with his Queens. Maybe he is just planning on going for a big attack, like he did in game number 3 regardless. Yeah, but Zest probably going to be ready for this. I mean, he's got a long distance for Reynor to cross to get towards his 4th base, so he can just drop down Psystorms, feed back in some of the Queen's. Beautiful feedback Psystorm combo. They're burning through the Queen's energy, and I don't think Reynor can push on into this. I mean, you need anti-air, which is basically just the Queens and a few Hydras, and Zest is going to have out a couple of carriers. Now he's going to have so much Psystorm to drop on this army. The efficiency of this Psystorm is just ludicrous now. There's going to be 4 carriers out, which should be able to trump these Queens, I feel, with the Psystorm to support. And so we're going to see Zest maybe just drop a few more Psystorms, keep retreating, let the Interceptor count build up all the way. The longer this goes on, the better it is for him. Reynor has had a successful attack towards the 5th base with Roaches, taking down that Nexus, but still, Zest is building up to an ultimate army here. He's dropping more and more Psystorm on the Lurkers. The Immortals are just popping off these lurkers too. Zest can back off though to his ultimate shield battery there. He's defending his 4th base still with a bunch of Zealots warping in. So he is taking a bit of damage by being unable to hold both these locations. But Reynor's army has basically been completely wiped, and he's forced to rebuild it with something that's not necessarily ideal, which is Roaches and Hydras against a Protoss player who's just been building up on carriers with Psystorm. Zest did take that economic hit. Of course, his 4th base isn't optimally saturated. He might want to fix that soon. But yeah, I don't think Reynor really has been prepared for carriers this game. He is just going to go for a big old Hydra Lurker attack, but Zest has got Psystorm and like 6 carriers. This is not easy to break for a Zerg. That being said, Reynor did just shave off a decent count of interceptors. Zest looking for a good Psystorm as this goes on. Needs to keep those High Templars alive, absolutely. Battery overcharge goes down. One High Templar gets sniped off by Reynor's Roaches. Beautiful job with Reynor putting the Roaches forward to try and get rid of those High Templar. Zest needs a couple of good Psystorms. He's warping in some Zealots to back this army up to break the Hydra lines. Reynor's pushing forward, but Zest is maxed out. He's got, let's see, 8 carriers. Zealots, Archons pushing forward. No Psystorms really going down on this army, but even the Void Rays joining in now from the south, and Reynor's army just looking too soft here. GG gets called, and Zest successfully getting up into that Sky Toss. Yeah, that was beautiful play there by Zest, just turtling up, but really, I do wonder if Reynor misread that a little bit. Like, he might have just been thinking that he would have been attacking into mainly like a ground composition, whereas in reality, Zest basically just had to buy time. Whereas if the Protoss is just going for ground, it's a little bit uncomfortable because the lurkers stay good. And so I'd like to ask Reynor, like, on Romanticide here, were you unprepared for that? Because like the slack of scouting on that fleet beacon on the carrier production probably would have drastically changed how Reynor played this out. Maybe he would have made more Hydras sooner. Maybe he would have, I don't know, split up, hit multiple bases. I mean, he did, but maybe tried to hit the 3rd base too or something like that. It's really tough to say, but at least we've got Zest staying alive in this series, so I'll load into another match. Is it greedy of me to say that I want to see another big old dirty Sky Toss game? Not that we've had like the full-on late game one. All of the 2 games that we have seen of Zest trying to go Sky Toss, one successful, one unsuccessful, it was that it basically hinged on Reynor's attack working or not working. Reynor just tapped out in the last game because it didn't work and he was unprepared for Sky Toss. I want to see a game which they're like trading blows, 5-6 bases each. I love that stuff. I don't know what you guys prefer to see, but that's what I prefer to see. And so yeah, now we take a look. Zest on the precipice of tying up this series. That's what you want. You want a Game 7 for a finals. And now we take a look. We see Reynor getting up that base that is natural. Zest going for this constant probe scout play, just to block the Zerg's 3rd, being a pain, being a nuisance. Okay. Probe scout checking out Reynor's base. We are on Pillars of Gold this map, so it's kind of tough to say how you should play it out. Well, I mean, obviously pro players have an idea. This is a map which we might want to see Zest go for a crazy attack, a cowboy attack with the prism hitting all over. You can jump between the 4th base and the 3rd base with the prism. You can go ahead and yeah, you can go ahead or even use blink stalkers, that kind of thing. There's good choke points towards the 4th base location. The 3rd base is kind of wide open, and there's a high ground ramp which Protoss can use if you do choose to go for an attack. All the while, we could see Zest just rely on turtling. But really on Pillars of Gold, it's not as good, I believe, because for all the same reasons I said it's good for Protoss to attack, it can be good for Zerg to attack. The 3rd is very wide open here, which is not ideal for someone who's playing defensively. We see this probe being a pain. Just gonna head on home. Reynor building up some gas, not starting up his speed just yet. Gonna be throwing up his third hatchery before he starts his speed, presumably. But then he pulls out of the gas. But then he puts one drone back in, so maybe Reynor wanting a little bit of a quicker lair this game or something? We shall see. Is it gonna be pneumatized carapace? Yeah, there we go. He wanted that gas for pneumatized carapace. And then he'll presumably start up speed, I want to say. So, interesting play there. Now let's see, we have got Stargate on the way for Zest. Void Ray being chrono boosted out. We'll see if he goes Void Ray into Oracle or if he'll go to Void Ray this game. Tough to say. But yeah. Queen starting to spread creep for Reynor. No spores going up just yet. There will be at some point, presumably. There's that Void Ray out, Oracle on the way after this. Zest chooses wrong when he goes hunting for an Overlord, unless he goes all the way down here looking for this guy, which would actually be crazy if Zest goes all the way down to catch this Overlord. Wow, he's gonna do it. Reynor has pneumatized Carapace with some sick Star Sense, pulls that Overlord down, worrying about that Void Ray, comes in with this other Overlord. Let me guess, he's probably gonna send this guy up north now after he... Oh, Reynor's so darn good. Just being able to sort of predict what his opponent's doing based on the information he has. And this Void Ray is actually going to end up getting neither of these Overlords, it looks like. And Reynor will have a full scout to see what's coming his way. At least so far, anyway. Nope, he's going to get a perfectly full scout as Zest just throws up a second Stargate right next to his first. And Reynor, I think this game might take it a little bit more seriously when he starts to see Sky Toss, like, not right off that possibility like he did in the last game. And that last game really was a showing of how Protoss is kind of messing with Zerg's heads by will they, won't they go Sky Toss. As in that last game, Reynor was like, oh, he probably won't go Sky Toss, because Protoss have just been faking this out based on what I've seen. In reality, maybe Zerg's like a month or so ago might have been like, oh yeah, Protoss are always going Sky Toss. Or a few months ago might have been like, oh yeah, always going to be Sky Toss. Not that in that game Zest was like fully committal, but this game he's opening up pretty darn similar. And maybe this is just how Zest approaches this matchup. Okay. Reynor getting up spores, getting up a lair on the way. He's now mining a lot more gas than he was. Loses a drone to this Oracle. Evo chamber on the way. Reynor throwing up all of his extra gases here. We're gonna have a lot of that. Roach Warren on the way. Once again around that 60 worker mark. That's what happens after you scout the Void Rays and the double Stargate. You basically know there's going to be no immediate ground attack. Reynor making queens, drones on the way. Just relying on the queens. Oracle coming on in, gonna tag those queens. Zest knows there's a fourth base on the way. And now Templar Archives and Robo on the way for Zest. So yeah, this is looking very similar to the last game. I mean, the thing about Zest is, though, that you really never know if he's actually going to commit to an attack. Like, this is looking nearly identical to that previous match. He's going up to such a high gateway count. Reynor's going to see this with his Overseer and be like, oh, this is what you did in the last game. So I should probably be prepared in case you decide to go Stargate. Or, for all we know, Reynor's just going to march across the map with his units regardless of what Zest is making. But maybe Zest can just throw up a fleet beacon once again, tech into that. He's got Psystorm on the way. It's going to be about 80 seconds out, but so far Reynor not aiming for an attack yet, it would seem. However, he is making a lot of roaches, so that could change. If he just decides to go for a Roach Queen attack in the last game, he went for Lurkers and Queens. So this is significantly different from that. This will hit potentially an earlier timing if he does decide to go in. Zest has got the 3 Void Rays out. Does he have 4? Yeah, he's got 1 more hanging out somewhere. Oracle scouting out, seeing the creep is inching up. And yeah, looks like Reynor might just be going for a timing here as he's pushing out with his queens. Maybe just going to be spreading some more creep, though. The Zerg just building up a lot of roaches. If Reynor throws up like a 5th base and an infestation pit soon, that we'll see that he's not actually going to be going for this attack. But otherwise, if he just keeps spamming roaches and queens, there will be cause for concern as Zest getting up a few shield batteries, getting up cannons at this 4th base location. He is going to have Psystorm by the time the Zerg comes on in, but now Reynor going off of creep with his queens. Gonna catch this Oracle, which is a nice find. I mean, the Oracle kind of gave its life to see that those queens were off creep. Zest needs to start getting ready for this now, though. How many High Templar does he have? 6, which is going to be a good number of Psystorms or feedbacks. But now we take a look. In comes Reynor. Feedback, Psystorms hitting the queens. Gonna try and burn through them so that the Void Rays can have supremacy, and I love this decision by Zest. I mean, take a look at that. A lot of the queens already removed from the equation, all the while Zest with the Zealot counterattack while this is going on, dropping Psystorms on that clumped up Zerg army. High Templar do have to drop Psystorm as they retreat, dropping feedback on the Zerg force. Zest really relying on getting this air supremacy. He's got 3 Void Rays against 5 queens right now. Corrosive Bile does hit 2 of the Void Rays, though, as they aren't microed back. Battery overcharge gets popped. However, now it's a little bit concerning for Zest. Can he hold on? These 2 immortals he's got are doing work with that battery overcharge. Another one pops out, needs to get into the fight right away. There we go, Zest retargets it. Reynor's army seems to be falling off on the front here. Is there reinforcements coming? As it looks like Zest is gonna have held this. The Zerg player is rallying more roaches across the map, but yeah, Zest held on there. He's warping in some High Templar. He's got another immortal on the way. There we go, 3 Archons morphing. Looks like Reynor is going to come on in once again. 4 immortals are out, but the Zerg getting right on top of these. There's not even a queen to help deal with this Void Ray, so the Void Ray will put a timer on this attack by the Zerg, but it looks like Zest might be getting broken here. More Zealots warping on in. The Void Ray gets Corrosive Bile down. Zest eating too many of those Corrosive Biles on the Void Rays, so there's no air units left to clean this up. The Protoss's 3rd has been broken, and Reynor is going to be the winner of IEM 2021. The World Championship goes to the Zerg race, as they were represented well here by Reynor with his killer's instinct, just able to make that attack work. I mean, I'm not sure what Zest could have done too differently. I'm sure there's some very good review out there by other content creators, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but yeah, beautiful series by these players. Zest, I think that's his 2nd runners-up in a row in this tournament, I want to say, which is kind of sad for him. But 2 seconds ain't bad. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in. If you watch this whole best of 7, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to it. And yeah, consider becoming a member if you do want to support the casts. I'll see you guys next time. My name is LaughNgamez. Thanks so much for watching.